Hi everybody, I'm Jack and this is Raw Tropical Living. Thanks for joining me today. It's a pretty day here. We've actually had some unusual rainy days the last couple of days, which is very uncommon for here this time of the year. Anyhow, the subject today is cravings. I think I've talked about cravings in videos before, but not specifically about the cravings. It seems like the cravings are what gets everybody. You know, it's just, and what actually is a craving? I should have looked up the definition of craving. I don't think of craving, it's kind of a strange situation. It's a weird little hunger. It's like a mental hunger, it's like a psychological hunger. It can be physical. Some people swear their bodies crave certain things, but I still think it's more mental than physical. You know, where that just little hunger is hunger. So I got to think it's somewhere in the brain, somewhere in those receptors of the brain, but hunger is hunger. If you can satisfy that hunger, it seems like it really wouldn't make a whole lot of difference exactly what it was, but as we know, the psychological controls us, guides us, whatever you want to call it, as much as the physical. So we will see how to deal with various cravings. I think you have to be proactive when you deal with cravings, but you also have to set your mind. You know, you can watch 1,000 videos trying to get that specific trick that's going to be like the magic secret that's going to make cravings go away, or there's going to be one super magic food that you can pop a little something in your mouth. It's not going to happen. People have cravings. It's just like breaking anything else. A lot of these cravings, like I'll go back and forth saying, it's psychological. Even the cigarettes, you know, you get addicted to the nicotine, but the psychological part is just as tough on the cigarettes. I had found when I quit smoking, I didn't have any of the nicotine addiction problems, but the habit part of it, the psychological, was hell. So you're going to have to set your mind. A lot of time, you know, it's just a matter of a little bit of discipline plus a lot of preparation. Or a lot of thinking ahead. Not necessarily preparation. I don't want to make it sound like you've got to do a bunch of stuff. You just have to think ahead of time. If you think about it, and I've read this before, so I don't have the science to back it up, but I know I've read this in multiple places before. If you can hold off any kind of a craving, cravings they don't tend to build. They tend to go away. So if you can do something, even if you can't get to some food to satisfy, you know, as a substitute for a certain craving you have, if you can just hold on, a lot of times a craving will pass in 15-20 minutes because a craving is not real hunger. It's something that's just telling you like, oh, I need salty right now, oh, I need sweet right now. But I wouldn't depend on that very much. I think what you have to do, and you know what? I see people put in so much time prepping their food and making what they're going to make, you know, with their cute little Vitamixes, doing 87 ingredients and making this, and, you know, but they won't go to the trouble of, like, preparing them for emergency situations, like having emergency foods, emergency stashes around the house in case of those, dangerous cravings that can pop up at odd times. And I think with the cravings too, the more specific you can be with the food substitute for the particular craving you are having, the better. Now I've mentioned in the past, you know, if you get hungry or you feel like you're going to eat something bad, just eat bananas. And that will work. I promise you, that's 100% foolproof. I will guarantee it. I don't guarantee many things, but it will work. If you get a craving, if you get hungry and you're about tempted to eat something, you just eat a banana. And you keep eating bananas until you don't have that craving anymore. Now, while that's very simplistic, that's probably not going to satisfy a lot of people because maybe you're just not in the mood for a banana, and you're definitely not in the mood to, you know, wolf down 5 or 6 bananas, whatever it takes to fill you up. So, you know, if it's a sugar or a sweet craving, that's why I think it's good to keep dates around. I know a lot of people are kind of, you know, anti-date. But here, when we're talking about cravings, we're talking about people, whether you like to hear it or not, you're still kind of in the beginning stages, or you're not solidified yet. So don't worry so much about this. I think it's better to eat some of these less than perfect foods instead of getting to the point of eating some really horrible food. So if you've got to eat a few dates, you know, when you're having a sweet craving, to keep yourself from eating a candy bar or some ice cream or some other garbage, then you got to do it. So, you know, like I say, for the sweets, I would recommend, if you really get that sweet tooth at some point and the bananas just aren't going to do it, eat a couple or 3 dates for that extra sweetness, and maybe eat a couple of bananas with that to get a little bit in your stomach. So there you kind of satiate the stomach, but you're also taking care of those taste buds that want the sweet. I know salty is a big one for a lot of people. Now with the salty, I've kind of gotten a lot. I have a tendency towards kind of being addicted to the salt, and I had to just cut even the Himalayan sea salt out because I just got to where I like to use it too much. Celery, keeping celery around the house is good, but depending on how long you've been doing this lifestyle and how clean your taste buds and how clean your body really is, I don't know. I know a lot of people recommend that, but I don't know how much celery is really going to satisfy that salty craving if you haven't been cleaned out a lot yet. Now I do know for me that it took me, you know, probably 1.5 years or so before I really could taste celery. Celery's a good one. Even though I don't buy them salted, I find that seeds can help me with that salt sometimes. Even just plain sunflower seeds or plain pumpkin seeds that I know I've bought somewhere and I know there's no salt in there. Don't ask me why, but just those seeds, even without the salt, give me somewhat of a satisfaction for that craving. Sprouts do too. Like the other night, I had a little bit of something. I didn't want sweet. I'm the opposite. I eat so much sweet during the day. I don't usually want sweet after dinner. If I get hungry or need a little something, I'd almost rather have something that's a little savory. So I was just munching the other night on some sprouted lentils, and they were good. They kind of gave me that. They almost gave me a feeling of what boiled peanuts used to. So that helped with the savory too. So anything, you know, that's like nuts, seeds. The nuts can kill 2 different things, but I would say with the nuts, be very careful. If you tend to have a problem with just gorging on nuts, maybe you keep yourself an emergency stash around for emergency situations. Just, you know, those really big situations. In other words, don't keep a huge bag of nuts around so that when you feel like you're going to go off the rails and then you substitute nuts, you eat a whole bag of nuts. But have a small enough serving around your house at all times that if you get that craving, and the nuts are good because they're going to kind of give you a, you know, they got some fat in there. They're going to, I don't know why nuts help with the salt. That's something I know I keep mentioning that, but I don't know why when they're not salted, but they do. They satiate that craving that I have for something just a little bit saltier. Or maybe I'm associating salty with something else, but anyhow, the nuts will help a lot with those cravings. Just don't have too many and just don't, you know, scarf down a whole bag. Also vegan treats, vegan snacks, kale chips. I know a lot of people don't recognize those as optimal foods, and I don't either, especially, you know, you're buying them in the Whole Foods and in stores that are packaged and they're somewhat processed. But still, if you're, let's go back, you have to go step by step. Don't try to run before you can walk. If you're still having cravings and you still fall off and eat junk food, well then you can't be worrying about like, oh well, I need to be so straight and you know what, these kale chips aren't optimal. Keep the kale chips around the house. Keep a couple of bags of kale chips around the house for when you have those you know, cravings for something salty, or you have, like, even more specific, when you have something, when you need chips. You know, we've all probably gone through phases where we really love potato chips in life. So, you know, the kale chips, the dehydrated crackers, you know, they give you a little of the savory, a little bit of the salt, a little bit of the fat. The crackers, dehydrated crackers are great. But you get what I'm talking about. You need to have specific things, and you need to find what works for you. If you'll put a little bit of work into this and just do a little experimentation, you can learn to deal with these cravings. It's not that hard, and if you're willing to put all that time into preparing your food, this won't even take near the amount of time. It's just you playing around with keeping some certain foods around, you know, see if, okay, well, I can keep this here, oh, this worked this time, or no, this worked. And you might have to experiment a little bit with it, but the point being is you need to think of those things ahead of time, because usually when you get to that point of craving something really bad, and when people go off the rails and just eat something and then have that moment of shame and everything, they're not thinking clearly. and they've gotten to a point, you know, either where they've let it go too far. You know, if you can't deal with that craving, you know, like I said earlier, usually a craving will go away. That's something I want to caution on too, because a lot of people, it won't go away, and if you don't deal with that craving, it's just going to get worse, and you'll eat, you know, you'll throw yourself off course even more and make some really bad choices. So, takeaway from all this, I'm just throwing a few things out that I've used in the past. You have to be specific. You have to find what's going to work for you for specific cravings, and you're going to have that around the house, and you're going to have to know when to go to it. You're going to have to know as soon as those cravings start to kick in, kill the cravings as quickly as you can. If the cravings don't get to breathe, if they don't feed themselves for very long, they don't get all that strong. But if you let them build, so if you start getting that craving, you have your plan set, you have something around the house or wherever you happen to be at the time, and you do it right there, you can head things off. Prevention, you know, it goes back to the whole, the mentality of how you think of medicine, or, you know, or healing, whatever, you know, and that's why I've always liked the methods of the East, prevention. You know, everything we do, prevention in almost anything in life, prevention is much easier than fixing a situation once something bad has happened. So if you can plan, if you can keep some things around the house, if you can actually put a little thought into dealing with these cravings, they'll go away and they won't be a problem anymore. It's always step by step. It's always like playing little tricks with yourself. It's not necessarily learning an infinite amount of recipes. I mean, the amount of recipes I know are very limited for somebody that's been doing this lifestyle for over 2.5 years. But it works for me. And we all find our little tricks that make this lifestyle work for them. So basically what you have to do is you have to find the tricks and you have to individualize it and make it work for you. Hope you guys liked this video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel, and I hope you're having a great week. Peace.